Hi, welcome back to this second part of pop culture and how it has shaped how what people think executive assistants and as personal assistants are. My name is Marcy. I'm an executive assistant who loves advocating for the profession and for the men and women who work in this awesome profession. So, we all know that Hollywood has a way of making everything seem way different from how it is in reality, and our profession has not escaped that. So I did do the first video, which you can find here, which was about pop culture and the depictions of different assistants, the good, the bad, the ugly, and it was nice to see. So I am doing the second one, which is the stereotypes that need to be retired. Basically, we do not need to have these stereotypes still out there. So, before Google Calendar, before Slack, before CEOs pretended to know how to use their laptops, assistants were actually doing quite a lot and they were running the show. In one of my books, I wrote about how my first experience seeing a secretary working, I felt like she was very powerful because she had this round thing on her desk and it seemed like she had everybody's number from the president to I don't even know, but it just felt like she had everything and she knew where everything was. It just felt to me like she was running the show. And then I wanted to be that, but then I couldn't open my mouth to tell my parents that. So anyway, eventually, when I grew up, I was able to do whatever I want. So, kids, if your parents don't let you do what you want, just grow up, give them what they want, and then do what you feel like doing. So, Hollywood painted a very specific picture of this. And today, we need to unpack the stereotypes from 9 to 5 and Mad Men. Now, these are the two that I've taken because they're from a while. Well, the Mad Men is set up in the 50s, and 9 to 5 set up in the 80s. So 9 to 5 stereotypes. So we have the underpaid saint, which is true. Many places underpay their assistants, and but just because they're doing it does not mean that they're saints and they're enjoying doing it with the underpay. If they wanted to do that, they would be volunteers. So they work miracles for pennies. That's not true. They are working because those are the circumstances you have given them. It is not like that is how they would choose to be. And many still struggle with being undervalued and loyalty. So I think that this is a stereotype that we need to retire, where every time we're giving examples of who is who, we start with, oh, from the CEO to the assistants. No, because it gives the impression that they need to be the least paid in the place. However, there are different levels of assistance, and I feel like every level, and most good companies know this, every level has its own um, salary package, and you should respect it. The second one is the fact that people think that they are the manager's emotional punchbag. I have had bosses who, when they are in a bad mood, you know they're in a bad mood and you know to stay away. However, I've also had good bosses who, when they're in a bad mood and something is stressing them, they will just tell me. Today, I feel like, so just, you know. And in moments like that, it gives me a chance to be able to say, okay, let me be the one to do this. Now, one of the interviews that I had when I was looking for a job, one of the managers who I keep talking about on this channel of mine, he told me that he loved the fact that his assistant knew when to bring for him things and when not to bring for him things. Most assistants, after they've been with a manager for a while, they kind of learn their triggers. And so we don't need to be your emotional punching bag. We don't need to absorb all your mood swings because we also have ours. Just be open and let us know when things are okay, when things are not okay, when we need to help you a bit more. Let us know all this because we're open. Okay, the other one is this multitasking magician. Now, I know most assistants call themselves multitaskers because we have to. It is not because we want to. And most of the time, we are not really multitasking. We are kind of doing two tasks at the same time. I know that sounds like it's the same thing, but it's not. Because if I am replying to emails, I'm replying to emails. Whatever else it is that I'm doing is probably pending with somebody else. And then they all come together at some point and we do them. So we have just learned how to prioritize things and how to make things look flawless. But that doesn't mean that we're magicians. So you can't expect that you tell us something and it is done. Okay? It's not working like that. Okay. The ears do the work of three things. They, but then they have to. I'm trying to find how to say this in a nice way without saying that everybody else is stressing us. So basically, we have three roles that an EA takes, and somebody told me this. Yes, I found the right words for it. So EAs do the work of three roles, but they do it with tech, they do it with structure, and they do it with boundaries. And when one of these breaks down, that is part of the reason why you see in my book about the burnouts, this is why you see when that happens. Because when the boundaries are not there, then even the tech and the structure cannot help. Okay? So the multitasking, we do it, but we do it out of necessity, not because we want to. Most of these things we do out of necessity. Now, if you can help us with crushing these stereotypes, then we will be able to advance better. Now let's look at some of the stereotypes from Mad Men. I liked Mad Men. Now, for those who don't know Mad Men, it was this series about a marketing company, and it was great. Now, one of the stereotypes that they have for Mad Men is the office wife. Your assistant is not your wife or husband. It's very, first of all, even wives are not supposed to be treated the way some of these men were treating those assistants. But in Mad Men, it was made to feel like they're the wife and they are supposed to fix everything and get zero credit for it. You know, the the fact that when the way they say that you can never like you can a wife does so much work which is non-remunerated. Assistants should not be doing the same thing. They should not be doing all any work without being remunerated. And even if it's just a matter of giving them credit for what they have done, there are very few managers who will say, "Oh, yeah, I did. It was a great presentation, but yeah, my assistant did a great job of collecting the information for me." Very few of them. I don't even think many of them it's because they're insecure. I just think many of them it's because it is not the norm. And they just don't see it as something that is worth doing. Okay. All right. So they are supposed to manage this silently without getting any credit. How fair is that? So the other one for Mad Men would be the all-knowing secretary, and I think this one goes also with Suits. And I feel like somebody who's watched my other video will think that this is a contradiction because I loved Donna for this exact reason that she knew everything. The assistant here is supposed to know everything, know every phone number, know who's having an affair with who, know who's doing what, know what everybody's drinking and how and everything. It's true, but most of it is just because some of these things are repetitive. So if I see my boss having coffee every single time, for example, I know that my boss drinks decaf. It is not because it is my job to know that he drinks decaf. It's just because I have seen him taking decaf a few times. And I think way at the beginning, I had to show him because our office has two different kitchens and only one has decaf. So at the beginning, that was a conversation, and that's why I know it. It does not mean that it is my job to be getting his coffee. Now, if that is part of your job description as an executive assistant, that's okay. But I'm saying that the all knowing aspect of it comes mostly from just these are things we know. Okay, it's not things that we set out to know. Okay, and the gatekeeper. Now we are gatekeepers. One time when I was working as an assistant, somebody came to talk to my boss and just passed me and then went and started having a conversation with the boss. And that was one of those mornings when I was really feeling the B word. So I turned to the person and said, "Excuse me, I'm not a piece of furniture. I'm a gatekeeper. I'm here for a reason. You can't just walk in." And this was one of the few times that that particular boss actually stood up for me. And he was like, "Yeah, that's true." But part of the reason was because I knew he was busy. And well, turns out whatever he was being told was actually part of what he was working on. So that worked out fine. But we are gatekeepers. Our main job, when I go for this executive assistant seminars, one of the things that we keep being told, which Sue Brazier keeps repeating over and over and over, is that the biggest part of your job is managing the time of your executive. When you manage the time of your executive, you are managing the organization, you're managing the company, because the time your executive has is the most precious asset. So this can be stereotype that maybe we should retire, but not really retire it, but look at it in a different way. Not look at it like she's the evil person who's standing between you and the executive. It's more, she's the person, he or she is the person who is making sure that the executive does not crash under the weight of everything. They're paid a lot, so they should be able to handle it, but well. So the portrayals, as you can see from my hesitation, are not entirely wrong. They just not complete. They give the impression that this thing just come. And I think that can be a hindrance even to somebody who wants to be an assistant. Now, from my side, when I first thought about being an assistant, the first thing that came to my head was, I don't, I can't be an assistant because I don't know how to do these things. And then I had been doing it for a while. I started being an assistant, and then for after a few years, I remember at some point talking to somebody and telling a career coach that maybe I should change my career because I fell into being an assistant, but I don't think I'm an assistant. I don't feel like I have the qualities of an assistant. And she asked me, "What are these qualities of an assistant?" And I told her, "I don't know. I just am not the same as all the other assistants. Everybody else seems to have this that I don't have." Well, that I don't have, turns out it's uh well, anyway, it's important and we have it, and whatever, it's just one of those things, okay? Nobody's perfect. And every assistant who wants to be an assistant, who wants to be a great assistant, you can probably be that if you work at it. Not everybody can be. I'm not going to diminish the ability of saying that not anybody who wants to be can be, but if you are determined to work at it and you're determined to get the skills, especially the soft skills, because being an assistant is more about the soft skills. No, being an assistant is about the hard skills. Being a good assistant is about the soft skills. There are just some things that can never be taught. You either have it or you don't have it. But understanding these stereotypes and understanding why they might be harmful when somebody looks at them in the surface is important. And that is why I did this video. Hopefully it makes sense, because I'm wondering if it's actually making sense. But let's think about them. Let me know which stereotype of all these ones are the ones that you thought was ridiculous, or the one that you liked, or the one that you really want to retire. Okay? See you in the next one. And I'm thinking maybe the next one I can delve a little bit into, because here I did a lot of the 9 to 5 and Mad Men. Let me go and investigate Ugly Betty, because that's the other one that a lot of assistants, well, my mentees and other people that I ask, what kind of an assistant do you want to be? That's the second one that they pick quite a lot of assistants from there. They keep telling me, yeah, I want to be Betty Suarez. And yeah, so that is the one that maybe I should look into next. So let me go and see what information I can find about that. Okay, see you all later.